right, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. You know the drill. Be sure and subscribe, ring that little bell, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Like the video, visit the Facebook group, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so today the movie I'm talking about is The Invisible Man. This movie is rated R. It's 2 hours and 4 minutes. And the Movie Review Mom grade I'm going to give it is a B+. And I'll tell you why. So I'm going to give you an overview, point out some things for parents and some themes for things you could talk about, as well as things I liked and didn't like. So in a quick nutshell, Universal Studios is actually attempting to reboot their monster universe with this movie. Based on positive audience and critic reviews, this nail-biting thriller just might do the trick. Based on the popular H.G. Wells science fiction novel, The Invisible Man, director Leigh Whannell has proven himself quite talented in the horror genre. He wrote the screenplay and directed this film. Now, don't let the Blumhouse name scare you away. This ain't no Blumhouse's Fantasy Island, which has been a huge disappointment. This one's actually pretty entertaining and, like I said, nail-biting. All right, some tips for parents. There is extreme violence and abuse, and the whole setting is an abusive, toxic relationship. And there's not that much profanity, so that's not necessarily why it's rated R. I think it's rated R because, well, of the violence, but also lots of blood and blood splatters, and people get and then blood. So it's very bloody. A teenage girl gets slapped really hard. Now, some themes are obviously control, power, toxic relationships. And for girls, let this be a warning to you. If your man makes you feel safe and protected, that's awesome. But if he takes it a step farther and is controlling who you see, where you go, what you say, and in this movie, what you think, back away. That's a toxic relationship. Your relationship should empower you to become better and not fearful or diminished in any way. So just my 2 cents as a mom. Another powerful message, I think, is listen to your intuition. A lot of times in the movie, the protagonist is kind of la la la, walking around, and then all of a sudden she's like, because she senses someone is in the room. So have you ever felt that way? Have you ever been just completely fine and then all of a sudden you're like, somebody's staring at me? I've actually had that happen a number of times. And then I'm always amazed when I look and then somebody's looking at me. I'm like, that's so weird. How did I know that? People have kind of a spidey sense about that. So listen to your instincts, listen to your intuition. And then another good message, I think, is that you are stronger than you think. Now, some things that I really did like about it is, first of all, Elisabeth Moss. She consistently offers a strong performance really in everything that she does. I first noticed her in Mad Men, the TV series, and I was impressed. I thought she was excellent in that. And she has gone on to give many other fantastic performances in other movies and TV shows. She is this film, and she does an excellent job carrying the story. Every time she tiptoes around the room and breathes quietly but heavily, it made me want to be extra quiet for her so she wouldn't get caught. And the whole breathing thing is really good because she's like, I don't know if you could hear that, but you could hear her breathing and you're like, anyway, she does a really good job. I've always preferred subtlety to in-your-face action, and this movie has it in spades because it's what you can't see that is so much scarier. While I never saw any of the Insidious movies, because I really don't like horror and creepy movies, director Leigh Whannell has a solid reputation behind him, and he knows how to properly build tension with chilling scenes And actually, in this movie, they start from the very first scene, even in the intro, with the rolling credits at the beginning. You're just like, oh, there's this like these waves that freeze into images or words, I should say, and you're just kind of spellbound by that. And then the camera pans up, and then you see this woman in bed, and instantly she's terrified, and then it just keeps going from there. Just the terrifying feeling and the chillingness in the air. Is that a word? I don't know. I was really impressed with him, and I hear that he's doing kind of a reboot of sorts of Escape from New York. So fingers crossed that he does a really good job on that. The entire movie has suspenseful music and suspenseful sounds where you're like, oh, what's happening? Each scene just really takes its time to unfold. And while that might sound like it's really slow, it's actually perfectly tasty because that dread hangs in the air and you're just like, and the suggested camera angles are fantastic because the camera will take you into part of a room where you can just barely peek into it, and then it'll kind of back off and you're like, what's happening, what's going on? I thought that was really good. You find yourself squinting to make sure you saw something that the camera suggested might be there, and you're like, did I see it? What should I be looking for? Oh, I love the scene where Elisabeth Moss walks outside and it's cold, and so you see her breath and she's looking around because she feels like somebody's there. And so you see, like when it's really cold and you can see the breath, so she's breathing and you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden you see this breath behind her. Not a big spoiler alert. I mean, that there's an invisible man. It's called The Invisible Man, but just to see it there makes you go, oh, you get shivers. Okay, so a few lessons learned in this movie. Keep a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. Keep sharp knives in your kitchen. And, oh yeah, learn how to shoot a gun. Okay, there were a few things that I didn't like. So first of all, do not watch the trailer if you can avoid it before you watch the movie, because it kind of shows you the whole movie, which spoils the fun. Another thing that spoils the fun is the name of the movie. There's going to be an invisible man, and I just feel like the movie could have been even better and more juicy if you didn't know. So when things are happening, you're like, is she losing her mind, or what's happening? Is there some paranormal thing going on? And then you discover that there's this invisible man, right? That would have been so much better. Anyway, speaking of all of this breath, I thought, wouldn't that be a cool name for the title of the movie? Breath. So you'd be like, every time she's breathing, and she breathes a lot. I mean, she's breathing in the movie because it's on several levels. I love double entendres. Anyway, they need to consult with me on movie titles. And speaking of this invisible man, I mean, what a shame that he didn't find something good to do with his powers. Okay, and another big problem with the movie is that there are a lot of plot holes in the storyline, a lot of details that just don't make sense. And I could tell you all of them, but I don't want to spoil it. So when they happen, just kind of roll with the movie, just enjoy it, don't overthink anything, because if you do, you're going to be like, wait, how could he have gotten there that fast if he was just there? That doesn't make sense. Or if he arrived, he would have seen this. That doesn't make sense. Or if she did this, then that, so just try to ignore all of that, suspend your disbelief, and then you'll really enjoy the movie. Another silly thing that drives me nuts is that the movie poster itself is just too dark. I really like it. I like that Elisabeth Moss is looking paranoid and scared, and that's great, but it's just so dark, and I don't know why it needed to be that. There have actually been several movies about the invisible man, and so fans of the story might be a little bit disappointed that this new addition to the concept doesn't necessarily add anything new or bring a new twist to the story, although it's told well. And actually, I forgot to mention on the things that I liked, there are some twists. I love twists. I'm not going to tell you what they are, obviously. But it frustrates me in movies when characters don't do what I think that they should do. For example, if there's a bad guy and he's trying to kill you and he knocks someone else's gun to the floor near you, pick up the gun quickly. There were so many moments where I'm like, why is she walking into the dark room? I mean, don't you always turn on lights? That kind of stuff in horror movies always drives me nuts because they're always like walking in a dark basement. I'm like, turn on the lights. Anyway, you're going to have a lot of fun, I think, in this movie. There's an interesting line that I think is also a strong theme for the movie that Cecilia Cass, the character played by Elisabeth Moss, says. She says, that's the sad reality about money and power. They buy you people. Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this movie if you see it. I think that you will. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me. Be sure and visit our Facebook page. Say hi. I'd love to hear what you think about movies. Oh, and comment down below, too. I love it when we get good conversations going. Have fun at the movies. Bye for now.